Good evening and welcome to Vatican Connections. I'm your host, Noel Okel, and we're back for another week of the latest behind-the-scenes stories directly from the Vatican. And since last week, there's been a lot going on, so here are just a few of the stories we bring you on tonight's episode. For a second year in a row, the Pope walks over to a mobile health clinic to make a surprise visit to the doctors and nurses. A few days later, he has lunch with over 1,500 homeless people. Why, you wonder? Well, you're not the only one. The prestigious Ratzinger Award was awarded to two special people at the Vatican over the weekend. Who were they? What did they receive it for? And what exactly is the Ratzinger Award, you might wonder? The Pope is off to Morocco this March, and it's certainly not for a sun-filled vacation, I can tell you that. I have for you the reason for the trip and also some interesting insight into the last papal visit to that country over 34 years ago. And I have all those answers for you coming up next on Vatican Connections, so be sure to stay tuned. Okay, let's start today's show with a quick look at some of the main events that happened at the Vatican over the weekend. On Sunday, the Pope celebrated Mass at St. Peter's to commemorate the second annual World Day for the Poor. The Basilica was packed with over 6,000 people, including homeless, poor people, and volunteers who serve the needy from all over Italy. During the homily, the Pope emphasized that helping the poor is not a papal fad, but a duty of every Christian.
Il grido dei poveri è il grido strozzato di bambini che non possono venire alla luce, di piccoli che patiscono la fame, di ragazzi abituati al fragore delle bombe anziché agli allegri schiamazzi dei giochi. Il grido di anziani scartati e lasciati soli. È il grido di chi si trova ad affrontare le tempeste della vita senza una presenza amica. È il grido di chi deve fuggire, lasciando la casa e la terra senza la certezza di un approdo. È il grido di intere popolazioni, private pure delle ingenti risorse naturali di cui dispongono.
And after the Mass, the Holy Father shared lunch with over 1,500 homeless people at the Paul VI Hall. Now, we'll have a look at the reason why the Pope began this initiative last year shortly, but first let's look at this year's events. Upon arrival, the Holy Father greeted the chefs who came from the Hilton Hotel to prepare the meals. He warmly greeted his guests and began by giving thanks for those who prepared the lunch and for those who are serving it. He also prayed for the Lord's blessing for all those present.
A coloro che hanno portato il pranzo, coloro che ci serviranno il pranzo, ringraziamo tutti e preghiamo Dio perché ci benedica tutti. Una benedizione di Dio per tutti, tutti che stiamo qui. Che Dio benedica ognuno di noi, benedica i nostri cuori, benedica le nostre intenzioni e ci aiuti ad andare avanti. Amen. E buon pranzo.
Now, those lucky few who were sitting at the same table with the Holy Father took many pictures with him and enjoyed a light and humorous conversation about life. It was truly an unforgettable day, especially for those who are not used to being treated with dignity or respect. So what exactly is behind this initiative and the World Day of the Poor, and how did it all begin and why? Well, to answer that, we need to go back a few years to November 2016, where the Pope signed his apostolic letter, Misericordia Misere, a letter that implored the whole Church to continue being merciful in its action and deeds, even though the Jubilee year of mercy was coming to a close. In that letter, the Pope established a new church celebration to be held on the 33rd Sunday of Ordinary Time and urged all Catholic churches around the world to organize events of mercy specifically for the poor in the weeks leading up to that date. And the Pope himself has led the charge by giving many examples of doing just that. And one of the examples is the mobile health clinic that the Pope set up for a week at St. Peter's Square that gave free health care for the homeless and for the poor. For a second year in a row, the Pope set up a health clinic for the less fortunate, which was staffed by many volunteer doctors and nurses. And on Friday, the Holy Father surprised pilgrims who were visiting St. Peter's Square by casually walking over from the Basilica to greet visiting patients of the clinic and also to personally thank the staff for all their hard works and efforts. One of the nurses explained to the media that the Pope himself even underwent some medical examinations with the resident eye doctor. Now, the visit lasted a total of 15 minutes, after which the Pope casually made his way back to St. Peter's, most likely to prepare for the very busy weekend ahead. But for those at the clinic, it was another memorable event, another show of mercy and love that will not soon be forgotten. Now, the first World Day for the Poor was observed last year on November 19th. The second one observed this past Sunday, hence all the activity. And going forward, you'll see this church celebration commemorated in November with week-long activities organized at your local parish with the goal to alleviate poverty, indifference, and the throwaway culture. And so now you know. Also at the Vatican over the weekend, the Pope awarded the Ratzinger Prize to architect Mario Botta and theologian Marianne Schlosser on Saturday. Presiding at the award ceremony, the Holy Father shared his gratitude for the Pope Emeritus's legacy and expressed appreciation for this year's winners. In a speech greeting this year's recipients, the Pope expressed satisfaction that this year's award for research and teaching in theology was given to a woman. It's very important, the Pope said, that the contribution of women in the scientific field of theological research and that of teaching of theology should be recognized more and more. The Pope then congratulated architect Mario Botta, remarking on how, in addition to theology, the Ratzinger Prize is also conferred in the field of Christian-inspired arts. Now, one might wonder what the Ratzinger Award is all about, and what exactly is this prestigious foundation that awards it, and who better to explain it than the foundation president, Jesuit Father Federico Lombardi, the former Vatican spokesperson himself, and here's what he had to say.
Oh, for us, for a priest, for a Jesuit, there is no retirement. It is not correct. We can say that I have finished my previous charges and now I have new jobs. The new job that I have received in the Vatican is to be the president of a foundation, Joseph Ratzinger Benedict XVI Foundation. There is a little foundation that is done with the money coming from the books of theology that Ratzinger has written before being Pope. Then he has received the rights for the books, and this money has been kept together, not distributed for many different issues, together to serve the promotion of theological research. And then in this sense, we have to give some stipendia for student, doctorate students. We are promoting some theological congress about the works of Ratzinger, but not only. And we are helping the publication of some books about Ratzinger. We are sustaining a library with books about Ratzinger, and so on. This is to help the theological research. The most important event is the Ratzinger Award. Every year we have 2 or 3 very important persons that have done long and important service in the theological research that are awarded by us at the presence of the Pope for their work. And this is normally in November, and it is the most important event of our activity. This is the most central service that I have now to do. Obviously, there are also other occasions. There are many dioceses or associations or Catholic journalists that call me to have a speech, to give so my experience and so on. And if I can, I do. This is all. But the first aim, first charge actually is president of the Ratzinger Foundation.
The Ratzinger Prize honors outstanding individuals for research in theology and in sciences or for the religious artwork, and is awarded by the foundation that was established by Pope Benedict XVI in 2010. Also last week, the Vatican confirmed the Pope will travel to Morocco March 2019. And only now, details are emerging about the trip and its purpose. And it's definitely not to take in some sun and to get some much-needed R&R for the Pope. The Holy See Press Office confirmed last week that the Pope will visit the North African country of Morocco for 2 days, from March 30th to the 31st, where he'll visit the cities of Rabat and Casablanca. The decision to visit the country comes in response to an invitation extended by the King Mohammed VI and the Catholic bishops of that country. Now, our sources are saying that the Pope's mission is to strengthen the relations between Christians and Muslims and to highlight to the world the importance of Morocco as the center of excellence in intercultural and interreligious dialogue. Now, this isn't the first time a Pope visited that country. St. John Paul II made a historic visit to the country in 1985, being the first Pope to receive an official welcome in a predominantly Muslim country. Speaking to thousands of Muslims on August 19, 1985, St. John Paul said that Christians and Muslims are called to change our old practices, which have led to misunderstandings and wars, and to recognize with joy the religious values that we have in common. We believe in the same God, the Pope said, the one God, the living God, the God who created the world, and the same God who brings his creatures to their perfection. And of course, I'll bring you more on this as details become available closer to the date. Continuing in Rome now, the Holy Father also offered special prayers during his Sunday Angelus address for those affected by the fires that are plaguing California. May the Lord, the Pope said, welcome the deceased in his peace, comfort their families, and support those who are involved in the relief efforts.
Una preghiera speciale va a quanti sono colpiti dagli incendi che stanno flagellando la California. Il Signore accolga nella sua pace i defunti, conforti i familiari e sostenga quanti si impegnano nei soccorsi.
As of today, over 150,000 acres of California has been scorched, with over 12,000 homes and building structures destroyed in fires that are still raging throughout the state. Sadly, the city of Paradise and many of its surrounding communities have been completely decimated, leaving over 30,000 people with an uncertain future. Full containment of the fire is expected to happen around November 30th. Now, the wildfires aren't the only ones raging in the hearts of many Catholics tonight. With the pain of the U.S. clerical abuse scandal still burning in the hearts of many, the question of how the Catholic Church will find renewal and purification amidst this seemingly endless tragedy is starting to take the forefront of many discussions. But don't fret is the message coming from many priests and scholars who say that the renewal of the Catholic Church in the wake of the 2018 sexual abuse crisis will most likely come from unlikely sources. Have a look.
I would say the church is in crisis because the church has failed to be faithful to one of its primary mandates, which is the protection of the dignity of the human person and the ability to create environments in which people can flourish. And so we have failed in caring rightly and justly for the victims, and we have failed in making sure that what we said we had put in place was put in place in all cases. Thankfully, the church has found itself in crisis before and has always found a path forward to be able to be renewed and to be purified. And so, as hard as it is to live in this moment, I think that hopefully we'll be stronger for it as we move through it.
Sources of hope and renewal in the church always appear, and often in the least expected places. One of these places is among the least likely of people. Usually it's like some woman, right, in a religious community somewhere, or some man in a religious community somewhere, or a lay person, or a bold priest. So I don't know that we have to expect it in some place, but we know, generally speaking, there is renewal going on in the church right now. You see it among young people. You see it among these dynamic religious communities that have appeared over the past quarter of a century or so. These are places, I think, that are going to help carry us through this, where the church is going to undergo a kind of unexpected renewal of herself through the vehicle of loving, joyous, faithful men and women. Again, it's probably going to be young men and women who do this. I know some of these communities, and they're extraordinary sources of power, even though that's, of course, the last thing that they're seeking. And that's a message, right? That's a lesson for a lot of us, that if we go back to the issue of clericalism, or we go back to the root causes of where we are right now, one of those, we taught this in Scripture and the theological tradition, of course, is power. And it's in the pursuit of power for its own sake, often, that human beings find themselves getting into trouble. And when you find these men and women in religious community who, again, the last thing they're looking for is power, they're looking for discipleship, they're looking to follow, they're looking to serve. And as they do so, of course, their power just expands, and their capacity to influence, to draw others in, become transformative devices against their own will almost, just expands as well. And that's, I think, how the church is going to renew herself yet again in this time. That's always been the spring from which renewal has been nourished. People looking for authentic, deep discipleship, and then becoming magnets, things around which the rest of us sort of congregate by virtue of their own holiness.
And that's all for our show this week. We'd love to hear some feedback from you, so drop us a line on our Facebook and on our Twitter page. I'm Noel Okel, and thank you for joining us.